assets of the brand Sweden. So how do you talk about a country being a brand? It's rather new, to be honest. There was a man whose name is Simon Anholt who started something that was called the Nation Brands Index in 2005. And then all the nations all around the world started to discuss and how can we make our brand attractive and how can we make that happen. A lot of destinations, lots of cities had done that before, but nations hadn't done that very well before that. I will talk about the brand Sweden today and how we at Visit Sweden secure that Sweden becomes an asset for us when attracting tourists from all around the world. I will talk a little bit about Visit Sweden as a company, how we work with communication, how we attract, and also about the different passion points, the different angles that we focus on when attracting tourists. So what is Visit Sweden? Visit Sweden is half owned by the government, by the Ministry of Trade and Industry, and half owned by Swedish Tourism, which is a private-owned company working within the tourism industry, like Stena Line, Viking Line, Swedavia, and different operators all around Sweden who have an interest that tourism grows and that tourism becomes an asset for their businesses. But also, we work with different partners all around Sweden. Everything from Gothenburg & Company, Turistrådet Västsverige, we work with Stockholm, we work with Swedish Lapland, all the partners that want to communicate themselves internationally. But the major part of their communication, the major part of their budgets goes still to national tourism. So we try to increase the part that goes into international communication. And this is where we are. There's no map in this picture. I don't know whether it vanished, but you can see the dots anyway. We are in 9 markets all around the world. Everything from China, India, and the US to our main focus, and where 76% of the number of tourists come from, that is Europe. And international tourists really like Sweden. And that's good for the government, to be honest, because the government owns 134 billion Swedish kronor on tourism. And that's more, well, if there's any Volvo people here, that's more than car exports, it's more than iron exports, and it's more than pharmaceutical export. Actually, 6% of the total exports that tourism stands for. And that's why the government is really focusing on tourism to grow and putting a lot of investments into tourism, securing that we can grow the entrepreneurs, to make a lot of places to visit and to secure that there are cities to visit when we attract the interest. And as you can see also, it's 176,000 employed within the industry, which is all really interesting as well for the government, that is, because in our industry, it's an opening employment for a lot of the new Swedes who come to Sweden that can work in hotels, in restaurants, and get their first employment into Sweden, which is therefore a very political, interesting part of their issues. And as you can see here, 77% up when it comes to bed nights in Sweden in 2018. And that was actually the 6th year in a row with an all-time high. The major part of tourists to Sweden come from Norway. It's about 3 million tourists out of the 17 million tourists that spent a night in Sweden last year. And then you can see that it's Germany. Germany is a very, very interesting market for us, where there's a great potential for Sweden to grow. And also Denmark, which is close, and with the currency now, we can see a lot of Danes coming over the Öresund. One market that has really grown for us a lot the last 3 years, 44% in 2017. Last year it was above 15, and this year so far 10% is US. With new connections, with new direct routes, and with the Swedish krona, that has really been a change when it comes to tourism from the United States. So the United States, we forecast will be the 3rd biggest market for for Sweden when it comes to tourism in 3 years. And the fifth is Great Britain, of course. But we see a potential. When looking at the target group, the people that are really interested in coming to Sweden, that are attracted by the things that we have as assets, we can see that Germany is really a possibility for us, and together with the United States. So those are the markets that we really see potential to grow, and they will really be in the focus for Visit Sweden in the coming years. So how do we create interest for Sweden? I think that's what you as marketeers are most interested in. The image of Sweden is very diverse. Here's the Crown Princess and Prince Daniel. Here's the Volvo car. Here's Pippi Långstrump. Here's IKEA. There's a lot of different images of Sweden, depending on what country you talk to. The image of Sweden is different in the United States compared to Denmark, compared to China. So we try to work with the image that we have there. But generally, it's a very, very positive image of Sweden. And we do have the associations that we see among our global travelers when it comes to Sweden as a brand. We see the healthy lifestyle, we see a very beautiful nature, we see sustainability, a unique and accessible nature. That's really assets that we try to promote and address when it comes to packaging and when it comes to communication issues. And Sweden is, as I said, a very, very strong brand. I was talking about the nation's brand index, and they're among 50 countries who are measured from exports, from culture, from possibility to attract talents. We are number 9. And the only country that is smaller than us that is above is Switzerland. So we're very, very attractive as a country, where Germany is actually the most attractive nation brand. Where we are very dependent on the communication and the companies that are out there. But also there's another index which we are very proud of being number 3. It's called the Good Country Index, and it's a measurement of how well a country contributes to other countries' wealth with its possibilities. And the third index that we look at is the reputation index, where Sweden was actually number 1 last year. So we have the best reputation among countries as well. So all these assets we work with together with sustainability index, where we are number 1. So really, really taking advantage of that position all around the world. And how do we do that? Visit Sweden is not responsible or doesn't own the Sweden brand, of course, and neither this organization that is called in Swedish Nämnden för Sverigefrämjandet i utlandet. That sounds really, really bureaucratic, doesn't it? But it consists of the Foreign Ministry, the Swedish Institute, Business Sweden, the Culture Ministry, and Visit Sweden. We work and build a strategy for how we as organizations communicate the Sweden brand abroad. And we do that through a situation analysis and business intelligence to all the time update the strategy that we have that is communicated to our companies all around the world. And these are the core values of Sweden and the position of Sweden. And this has actually been the position and the core values since 1995. We really try to challenge them all the time to see, can we stand for this? Is it possible to work in this position forward? Is it still attractive? But it has been since 1995. And within these areas, we try to work with our projects and with our initiatives, with the foreign ministers, with the Team Swedens all around the world, where we try to work with the embassies, to work with the Business Sweden offices. And we at Visit Sweden have done, of course, a branding strategy within our organization to secure that we take advantage of the Sweden brand. And our brand promise is, well, we offer something else that you haven't experienced. We don't have any Eiffel Towers or Big Bens or anything like that. But when you come to Sweden, you will experience something else. And for Chinese coming into the Gothenburg archipelago here, that's something else. So who is interested? What are the target groups? I was talking about the global traveler, but we segment them into three different groups. One is the curious traveler, who is, when they travel, they want to experience, they want to eat the food in the country that they come to, they want to meet people in the country, and they want to learn about the history. They want to educate themselves about traveling. But it's not a conference that they go into. Of course, it's vacation first, but then when they travel, they want to learn. We have another group that is called active nature traveler. They just go directly out in the nature, go canoeing, go hiking, and spend time in nature. Everything from the woods in the southern Skåne or up to the wild adventures in Lapland. And then the third group is called the getaway enjoyment travelers. Those are the ones that just want to get away, eat good, live well, and go to spas and be with their friends. Those are the people that are very close to Sweden and know Sweden already, so they don't want to educate themselves about Sweden when going from Norway, for example, to Gothenburg. So we also work with passion points, which we look at the target group's interest when they live their lives in Los Angeles or Milan or St. Petersburg. That doesn't have anything with traveling or countries to do. So we look at the interest, what are they interested in? We look at the assets that we have as a country and look at the competitiveness with our competitors. And those are the passion points that we build the communication from. And here are the Swedish passion points that we have selected to work from. It's people and the lifestyle. It's nature. It's food, design, architecture, music, and film and literature. So all these are puzzle stones of how we communicate. And we never communicate just one thing. We always put them together in three communication platforms. One is called the progressive contemporary culture. It's really for the people who want to experience the latest things, get inspiration, want to go to nudist retail stores and in Gothenburg and really see what's happening when it comes to fashion in Gothenburg. Then we have the inviting habitat, people that want to go out in the nature, experience the people living close to nature, and the food that you can have there. And then we got bubblan, the idyll. That's completely impossible to translate. It's for the people that live very close to Sweden, and they see Sweden as almost as home, but a little bit different. So I skip this because I have other films to show you afterwards, and I know I'm not running out of time, but I want to show you everything else as well. And apart from the investment that we get from the ministry every year, we also work with the partners all around Sweden that invest in our international communication. Apart from that, we also get extra funding for working with programs. We have 3 different programs within Visit Sweden right now. A 4-year program which positions Sweden as a design, architecture and fashion country all around the world. And we also work with food tourism on a 4-year project, and the 4th project is a sustainable nature tourism project. And we'll talk a little bit about that. And to start with the design and architecture project, we have done that since 2016, and we try to show a little bit more of the creative side of design. Not only the minimalism, the cool and the white design that we're known for all around the world, but lift up the younger generation who use more colors and show the creativity and innovation within contemporary Swedish design. Here are some examples where we have an exhibition. We have had an exhibition for 3 years at Milan Design Fair with 37 product owners, designers, architects that we have shown in a Swedish exhibition. Here's an exhibition with a solar egg that we had in Paris at the Swedish Institute, where we had more than 15,000 people coming to see it. So a lot of activities, but also a lot of social media. We have established a Swedish design museum online, the first one ever. The other program that we work with is, of course, the sustainable nature. And that's one of the great assets. When I was asked here before, what do people associate Sweden with? It depends on what country you are. But one thing that everybody talks about is nature. Nature and nature and nature. But we want to position Sweden as a sustainable nature destination, not just a nature destination. And we have done that for 4 years. And this is one example that we have done together with West Sweden. And this is a cabin that we built in Dalsland, on an island outside of outside of Dalslånged, I think it was. And now, after this communication, there's a lot of new tourists coming to Dalsland. I will show you a little bit what it is about. Oh, no. Have to go in this.
With the 72-hour cabin case study, we wanted to illustrate and investigate what the effects might be of being in Swedish nature. 5 people from different countries with stressful jobs were invited to participate in this experience.
Wow, look at that.
I think the Swedes have got it absolutely right.
Welcome to Sweden.
And with this communication, we could actually show that it was healthy. The blood pressure went down and the pulse went down after having spent three days in these cabins. And lots of PR, as you can see, and we still build on it. And actually, we're constructing these cottages all the time up in Dalsland. I think there's 10 or 15 to visit. The third program that I was talking about was food. And I know that a lot of Swedes think of how it was in 2009. We were landet brunsås, weren't we? But things have changed a lot, and we can see that in the statistics as well. We can see that in 2009, 6% saw Sweden as a food destination, attractive food destinations. Now we're up to 17%. And we actually established something that was called Sweden, the new food destination, together with Business Sweden and with other operators. And that was run until 2014. And now we have a new program as from 2016, where we try to attract and put a new angle into food and Sweden. And we do that together with 20 regions all around Sweden, 3 of the major cities, of course, Gothenburg, Malmö, and Stockholm. And with Visita and Tillväxtverket. And that has really been a very, very major project where we can work on business development, product development, to secure with insight how to talk to Chinese, how to make your menu for a German and so on, so that people who have these restaurants can attract the people who they want to talk to and want to come to their restaurants and gårdsbutiker. And I will show you our latest communication, which we call Sweden the Edible Country. And that really shows one part that I think a lot of Swedes normally do, but I think it's very exotic for the majority of foreigners.
A never-before-seen gourmet concept shaped over millions of years, featuring 100% natural ingredients and 4 Michelin-starred chefs. So put on your best clothes, shine your shoes, and get ready, because you're going to Sweden, the biggest gourmet restaurant in the world. That's right, we have turned our whole country into a restaurant. You see, here in Sweden, fine dining is just around the corner, in our nature. And everyone is invited. Together with our star chefs, we have composed a do-it-yourself menu from ingredients that you can forage in our forests, fields and lakes. To make it easier for you to experience what our nature has to offer, we have placed tables and cooking kits in a few pretty nice spots around the country. Reserve your seat at bookatable.com. If it's fully booked, don't worry. There's another 100 million acres of fine do-it-yourself dining available for you. Always close, always open. Simple, healthy and delicious. Welcome to Sweden, the edible country.
And this is not just a PR campaign. You can actually find 15 tables all around Sweden now that you can book on bookertable.com. One is at Göteborg Slott, and one is at Ramsvik in Bohuslän. So you can book those tables, make the food yourself. You can buy a small package, medium package, or a great package. The great package brings the chefs with you. But apart from that, this is the big moves that I've shown you. Three good campaigns that we've done, and we work together with the travel trade continuously to be in the tour operators' presentations, to show Sweden, and because there's a big and tough competition out there. We 1% market share Sweden, so that's why we have to be something else. And we actually work with different brands all around the world. We work with Volvo in the United States and in China. We work with IKEA in Germany, with in Italy, Switzerland, and Austria. And actually, we bring out the messages in their IKEA family communication continuously, and have done so for 17 years. And Fjälldreven, Konken, Electrolux, other parts that have been part of our communication continuously. Brands that almost have the same core values that we have. So just a short summary. Sweden, a great asset when it comes to communication. I think those of you who work in Swedish companies see a lot of core values that you feel that, well, I can stand for this, and the passion points that bring back to the drivers of the potential travelers. That's really important to be able to have an effect. So that's it. Thank you very much for listening.
Thank you, Michael. Nice. That was really interesting, and I think most of us were really proud of being in Sweden when we saw all the offers we have in this country. I just have one question when we wait for Magnus to be on stage, and that is, you talk about competitors, but what do you see is the most challenging thing for Sweden? It looks like the figures are going the right direction. But what can happen to take this lovely brand away? Do we have a big challenge somewhere?
Well, one thing is that we get too many tourists. That has actually happened in Fjällbacka, for example, where 10 buses of Chinese come and they use the village in a way that the locals don't like. So mass tourism is really a threat to good tourism. So that's something that we want to work with, sustainable tourism, and secure that the people in Gothenburg, the people in Fjällbacka like that we have tourists coming in, that they see that this is good for Sweden and this is an extra income for us.
So that does mean that the Swedish people are also one of your target groups when it comes to that?
Well, when it comes to the locals, yes, but we don't work with making Stockholm people come to Gothenburg. No. That is Gothenburg Company who does that.
That was a very nice handing over to Magnus. Thank you, Michael, for that. Thank you. So, Magnus Hallberg, yes. Chief of, and I know in Swedish is the evenemang, yeah. But I think in English it's the event word, yeah, isn't it?
When it comes to English, we speak about events.
Events.
Event manager.
Event manager at Göteborg Co.
Yeah,
so
for a whole city.
For the whole city. Huh? So now let's move from the country to the city.
Yeah, exactly.
Please, the show is yours.
Thank you. Yeah, as Karin mentioned, we're going to narrow it down a little bit from a nation point of view down to destination point of view. Since 9 months back, I'm the event manager for something called Göthenburg Co, Göteborg Company in Swedish. And we are what we call a DMO, Destination Marketing Organization. So we market Gothenburg, and we do it in cooperation with Visit Sweden a lot. We like each other. And you will see that we have the same tune, basically. We sell the same things, so we come back to that. Our brand is Gothenburg, or Göteborg, or Göteborg. It depends on which channel we market ourselves. We want to market ourselves like a modern, a city of knowledge, a very open city. Good conditions, sustainability is going to come back in my presentation over and over again. So that's in hand with what Visit Sweden do for Sweden as a nation, basically. I'm going to show you our last movie about the destination. Let's see if I get this to work. Nej, tillbaks. Ser du den? Ja, men jag har hittat min... Jag har långt bort till höger. Ser jag så dåligt? Nu ser den där. Ja.
We're up north, on the coast, by the sea. We're not a capital. We're not on the main road. Sometimes it rains for a week. Sometimes it snows. It's taken us 400 years to build our city, and we're still working on it. We don't make it easy on ourselves, but we think we're on to something good.
So as you can see, we try to market ourselves in line with how we market Sweden as a company, or as a country. We talk a lot about food, we talk about nature, the people, the closeness, the safety, sustainability, and so on. These are all the bullet points or points that we try to market. And as a company, we do not only market Gothenburg, we also have a responsibility for the regions. We have 13 different communities that are all interested that we market their region. Let's see. We have when it comes to increasing the number of people that should visit Sweden, or Gothenburg, we have a very ambitious goal. Today we have almost 5 million visitors. In 2030 we say we're going to have 9 million visitors. So it's going to take a lot for us to reach there, but we're trying to do it in a very sustainable way. And this will, of course, this means that we need a lot more hotels. And some of you have followed that we're going to get 4,000 more hotel rooms in Gothenburg within 2 or 3 years, but we're still going to need another 4,000 or 5,000 hotel rooms. So you're going to see a hotel boom in Gothenburg starting with next year, and then it's hopefully it's going to continue. So we have beds for all the guests we're going to get here. We have different strategies, of course, but basically showcase Gothenburg. Get people to visit Gothenburg, because we know if they get here in this outskirts of Europe, in this cold place where it rains for a week, if they get here, they will stay, and they like it, and they will come back. So the big task is to get them here to explore and get the feel of it. Improve accessibility, of course. We do have a very different or a very difficult discussion. We want more flights. We want more airplanes, and you know the sustainable discussion around planes and all these things. So we need to work with right arguments for the accessibility when it comes to the airlines. We need to work with the trains to get them more popular and so on. So we work a lot with the companies around transportation. And of course, share a vibrant picture of Gothenburg. That's very important. We are very proud talking about sustainability. We have, in 3 years in a row, got the prize of being the most sustainable destination in the world. We have, as you can see, a lot of Scandinavian countries or cities behind us that are catching up, so we need to improve constantly. But this is a very good sign that we are doing something right. That was about the destination. Then about Göteborg Co as a company. We are trying to be one of Europe's most human and most attractive metropolitans. A small metropolitan, we know, but we need to have an attractive feeling attached to Gothenburg, since we do not have an Eiffel Tower or a Big Ben or other venues. This is our mission. We are in a cluster. Gothenburg cluster their companies. So we are in a cluster together with Liseberg, Stadsteatern, and GOTHENBURG. So we talk tourism, culture, and events. That's what brings us together. And if we move into my part, if we move into the world of events, we try to promote ourselves like a very event-friendly city. And that's one of our unique selling points. The people in Gothenburg likes events, and a lot of companies that own the rights to different events know this. So they think it's very easy to make an event in Gothenburg, and that's one of the unique selling points we have. And within events, there's a big change. There's a big change coming, and there's a lot of trends, but we have especially the event business is growing, and it's becoming more and more global. And that's due both to globalization, of course, and also that we have a middle class that's growing around the world. I'm sure many of you don't even think about if you're going to go to an event in Stockholm or in London. Many of you travel to Barcelona to see football. Many of you travel to Paris to see a theater, and so on. These things we didn't do before. So the world is growing, or the market is growing, and it's becoming more and more global. We are undergoing a massive change when it comes to the companies and organizations who owns the rights to these events. These days, they own the whole value chain. They can own the arena, the artist, the technique, the promotion, and everything like that. Take a company like Live Nation, for instance. Previously, we used to have one company owning the promotion, one company owning the ticketing, one company owning the artist, one owning the arena, and so on. Now, big global companies have the whole value chain. And it's very, very hyperactive. It's very competitive. Today, we fight with all cities over the world for events like Champions League final for women, big Eurovision finals, whatever, European Athletic Championships, and so on. So it's a big competition out there. It's more and more complex, and with the complexity comes the risks. When I meet with my people, when we meet the Athlete Federation or Sports Federation, they often say, okay, we own this event, Junior World Championships in hockey, for instance, and we want to make 15 million Swedish crowns. That's the first thing. Which city in Sweden can do that for us? That's the first thing. So the money, they're very aware of the value of the event. And the second one is, how can you help us drive social change? So they want to make money, but they want to make a difference. So it's getting more and more complex, and it's more of a risk. And the reason why cities are hosting events are changing drastically. So I'm going to come into that. We see four major trends. One is the crossover of formats. I'm sure many of you have gone to a congress that had turned into a festival, that comes back to a congress, and so on. So festivals are turning into expert panels, congresses are turning into festival. You have a massive crossover of formats. And business, leisure, all those different types that tend to mix up these days. Sustainability and social impact is important, especially in Europe, especially in the northern part of Europe. When we discuss with UEFA, for instance, which are head of the European football, they are not as, social impact and sustainability is not as important for them as filling the arena. But they still have it on their agenda. And if you move up north and talk to sport federations or culture events from the northern part of Europe, it's more and more important. So it's growing. The tech revolution is not new for you guys, and it's also in this business area, especially around arenas. Everything from guest flows to recognition of guests, of ticketing, of optimization, it's all in there, so it's coming. And as mentioned before, the risk. Many of you who are from Gothenburg remember that we had a little horse event a couple of days or a couple of years ago. We still discuss this internally. And there was a big event where we, as an event host, actually took a big risk, and it didn't work out that well. So you will have a lot of DMOs, destination marketing organizers, as Göthenburg Co, that will go away from arranging events and almost always only investing in events. So you give money to somebody to make the event happening, to minimize the risk. So, with these changes and with this development, what's the future for Gothenburg? Well, previously we used to do events to mainly invest in what we call visitor economy or international visibility. And there we share mutual interest to make Gothenburg and Sweden more attractive. Nowadays, or for the future, it's more about social development. How can we use an event to make a difference? How can we get more people employed? How can we support integration? How can we get people to meet? And as we mentioned, or as it's marked up here, how can we use the events for a long-term legacy? We can have in Gothenburg MTV European Music Award within 6 months. It's going to cost 30 million for the city, and it's going to boom for one weekend, or probably one Sunday. But what legacy will it give us? Probably not very much. We can invest those 30 millions in what we call computer or competitive entertainment or e-sport, and have a massive amounts of events, and we can get students to Chalmers, we can get engineers to, or future engineers to Volvo, and it will leave us with a longer legacy. So that's where the trend is changing. We are right now in Gothenburg, and once again, the result of this little horse event. We are conducting a new event strategy. And if we previously only looked at visitor economy, we are now looking more at attractiveness and social development. And in this work, we have looked at other cities that we compete against and where they are, historically-wise. Stockholm, for instance, has been focused on attractiveness. Stockholm invested somewhere 140 millions in Eurovision 2016. And this year there was a rumor that Sweden is going to win Eurovision again, so we had to prepare, and we, conducted all this. We had all these discussions, and we have to write these papers since we are a politically round company and so on. And we said no, we are not going to invest 100 millions in this. It's going to burn for a weekend, and it's going to leave nothing. Now we didn't win, luckily, so we didn't have to say yes or no, but that's a typical example. What we are looking for in the future is a more balanced picture between visitor economy, and when I talk to the hotels, which is my background, I need to balance this question a little bit, because they are scared that we are only going to do cultural festival to change the social development, and it's going to be no guests in the hotels. But with you guys, I can be honest, so we're going to balance this picture a little bit. So we're going to be more towards attractiveness, we're going to be definitely more toward social development, but it will give us a good visitor economy. And the interesting part here, this is my third presentation today, so bear with me if I'm a little bit blurry, but the interesting part here, attractiveness is very interesting for, I spoke today earlier on the trade and industry group, where you have all the big companies, Volvo, SKF, Astra, and so on. They want an attractive city, so they can get engineers, so they can get students to Chalmers, and so on, okay? So they like that corner. They also want social development, because they want their team members to have a good city to work in, to live in, a safe city. So the hotel's customers, and especially in Gothenburg, Volvo, for instance, I don't know, have somewhere 20,000, 30,000 guest nights. The hotel's customers tells us, this is important, this is in the direction we need to move. And I'm sure you guys in your corporations, in your collaborations, hear the same. Attractiveness and social development is important. So after summer, we're going to conduct this strategy, and we will balance it a little bit more according to the trends in Europe. These are all events that I'm sure that you know of, that you've seen, or perhaps even visited. You have Slush Helsinki, as you know, a tech event. You have Burning Man from California, which is what should we call it? Celebration to a special culture. You have the Fringe Festival, or the Edinburgh Festival from Edinburgh, and you have South by Southwest from Houston, or Austin. These are all events that have grown and are actually in the social development direction. They make money. They need to make money to develop. But they still have a different angle to why they do things. And they do generate hotel nights. So there are events out there that are in line what we are talking about. And we have one of those, I would say. We have something every August that we call Gothenburg Culture Festival, or that's the new name. It used to be called Göteborg Co. This is a party that we do for the people in Gothenburg. This is something, a task we were given by the politicians. So we conduct it, or we arrange it, but 90% of the people or the acts on stage, it's not us, it's other people. It's collaboration. And we have lovely figures. 51% of the people in Gothenburg go to this festival. They come from all parts of Gothenburg, not only the west, not only the east, all parts. They come from all social groups. And we do have something that we are very proud of. For 2 or 3 or 4 years, actually, we have booked a big Arabic artist that the trade and industry group is actually sponsoring. And when we started, 40% said that they will not attend any other culture event for that year. And when we say culture event in this manner or around this project, it's like library, cinema, theater, or so on. Now that figure is down to 11%. And when you have a big Arabic artist, all the Arabic-speaking people in Gothenburg will come. So here we drive change, here we drive integration, here we drive social development. So this is one of our greater events for Gothenburg. It will be in August, between the 6th and 10th of August. Please visit. So, a short summary. We are transforming. We will use events in the future for different purposes than before, or for more purposes. This will give new partners. We will, for instance, probably more speak with Volvo in the future compared to how we've done before. We will speak still with the hotel industry or hospitality industry, but we will add partners on in our discussions. Driven by globalization, digitalization, growing middle class, of course. There is more money into market, or there is more money into the event market than before. Social development, I'm sure you got that picture. It's not about only visiting or boosting visitor economy. It's also about making a real change. And we, as a DMO, Destination Marketing Organization, we need to change. We will not be able in the future to arrange events in the same manner. But we will facilitate and we will invest in events in the future as well. So that's a big difference for us. And the city, of course. And please, do not forget, in 2 years, we are 400 years. Hey, we will age 400 years in 2 years. This is a big event that we have as a task from the city, but we will not do it ourselves. We need involvement from the people living in Gothenburg. We need involvement from the companies who are active in Gothenburg and organizations and so on. It's going to be a lot of celebrations, and we are rallying everybody who wants to, do something during 2021. Please come in contact with us, and we'll make sure it happens. Okay? It's going to be a lovely year. Thank you.
Yes. Thank you, Magnus. So we have something to look forward to then.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. We like that. We like to go to festivals and parties.
Yeah, no.
Do we in Gothenburg, do we enjoy that more than other people do in Sweden? Are we more into festival culture?
I have another film here that I didn't show you guys, and one of the unique selling points we have and that we try to sell is actually the openness towards events from us living in Gothenburg. That and the closeness of hotels, arenas, and so on. But yes, we are very keen on events in Gothenburg. We like it very much, and we are very good at opening up a backyard or the city so we can do events a little bit all over the place.
That's good.
That's great.
Yes.
That's great.
Michael, please. Just to round this up and say thank you to both of you guys, I would just have one more question. And I think when we listen to you, you have a little bit, you try to tell us it's not a conflict in being the city for the citizens or being a city for the visitors. How do you work with that, Michael, to make the cities deliver on your brand promise for Sweden?
Well, I think it's quite simple because one of the passion points that we have are the people and the lifestyle. Nature, I was talking about nature, but also if you don't have the people, if you don't have a welcoming, if it's not an openness among the people, it's not going to be a good holiday, and they're not going to be ambassadors, they're not going to make people come here, and they're not coming back either. So the people are a great asset for a country.
Yeah. Okay. So this is just a reflection, but when I started to work with this branding of places years ago, I read a study saying that cities that can show that the citizens are very proud of the cities have more visitors than cities who are not proud of the cities. So let's be very proud and wish Gothenburg and Sweden good luck in the future. And thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Yes.